I think it's super important that the first contact you have with a creator is just with no strings attached whatsoever. I want to send you a gift. That's it. Not even like I want to sign you up for this or anything. I just want to send you a gift. These creators get so many emails from so many platforms and so many brands every single day. If you ask for anything more than just giving them something for free without even mentioning anything else in return, you're most likely not going to get a response, or at least your response rate won't be as high as it can be. So I usually recommend the brand start with just like a no strings attached gift email. When the creator says yes, and then with Social Snowball, you send them a link and then they fill out their info and they redeem the gift. You could, different platforms probably do it different ways, or you could create orders manually. However you're doing it. After they've gotten their gift, then you check in with them. How is it going? Then you kind of, explain more details about your affiliate program. More opportunities to partner further, but you only do that after they have your gift and they've used it. A lot of them will tag you organically, but if they don't, after you ask them, hey, how are you liking it? They'll say, I love it. Then, you don't have to say, can you post for us? You could say, hey, we've already enrolled you in our affiliate program. Here's your link or here's your code or whatever. If you could tag us in your story, you could earn some commission for doing so. I think your audience would love it just as much as you did. Just you could start asking for things more after they've received the gift. But before they receive it, you kind of just want it to be, let me just send you something because I think you're going to like it.
You are listening to Power Marketing with Kevin Lee. Kevin and his agency Did It have helped thousands of businesses win through superior marketing, as have his books, articles, speaking engagements, and the E-Marketing Association Power Marketing podcasts. Here's Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lee with the E-Marketing Association. I also run Did It, a 50-person digital-first marketing agency. I run a nonprofit called Giving Forward that replaces Amazon Smile and adds a bunch of new features to a cause marketing platform for other nonprofits as a nonprofit. And I own a brand called Truth Nutrition, which I use to run a bunch of marketing experiments that typically a Did It client wouldn't let me run. I'm super excited to be chatting with Noah Tucker today because he's tackled an area that I think is particularly fascinating, which is sort of the intersection between sort of performance-based and affiliate marketing and the influencer and creator category. Because those things used to be more separated and they're really sort of merging a little bit. So to start off with, Noah, if you could give sort of what the elevator pitch is these days for the Social Snowball platform that you've created.
Yeah, well, you kind of hit the nail on the head with how you described, the intersection between performance affiliate and influencer. Um, you know, Back 6 years ago before I started Social Snowball, they were totally separate. And if you wanted to partner with influencers, it was more of an awareness channel, or a content channel to get content to repurpose into paid ads. And, affiliate was not influencers at all. It was just a performance channel with media buyers or publishers, etc. And that's essentially, the problem that Social Snowball aimed to solve, and that's what we do today. We are a performance influencer platform. So we help brands partner with influencers and creators and ambassadors, where the focus of that partnership is attributable revenue. So everything from, finding those creators to gifting them, attribution, incentive structures, payments, basically the full end-to-end management of your creator partnerships, but where the goal of that partnership is driving actual sales, not just getting content or brand awareness.
Cool, cool. Well, that's certainly covers a lot of breadth. So I'd love to delve a little bit into some potential misperceptions that folks have about the sort of influencer ecosystem. And a lot of them really think about it as purely the Kardashians of the world, right? Which are these mega influencers with millions of followers. And they don't realize that the influencer tiers run all the way down to sort of the micro influencer who may have a fairly small following, but maybe it's a following that they have a strong personal relationship with. So I'd love to hear how your platform and how you've thought about those tiers differently in the way in which your platform ends up getting used to sort of tap into those various tiers of creators and influencers.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, at this point, it's definitely not a secret that the micro influencers usually tend to convert better, as far as driving revenue, which is, of course, like what we're focused on. And I think it's no surprise, like the micro influencers, they appeal to more niche audiences, and those audiences could be all, passionate about a certain hobby or interested in a certain sport. And if, your product or brand aligns with whatever the audience is interested in, then it would make sense that that audience converts better. Also, usually the micro influencers have higher engagement with their audiences. People feel a more real connection since it's more of a relatable person rather than like a celebrity. Um, So yeah, brands are definitely shifting more to these micro influencers. That's been a trend that's been happening for a while. And I definitely see that continuing. I mean, even to the point where now we're seeing a lot of even customers being great ambassadors and affiliates for brands because even if you don't have a social following, but you could be referring friends or just posting on your Instagram with just your friends seeing it, even if you're not like a creator or an influencer, you're still able to, influence purchases, which brands care about, especially with paid ads becoming just a lot different than it used to be, more expensive, harder to track. Brands are very, open-minded to leaning into their own network and their customer base and and creators to be more of an acquisition channel for them.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned existing customers potentially being a channel. We did a fun uh, experiment and sort of when we were doing influencer recruitment for one of the Did It clients, we integrated into the full contact database their current contact information for their customers. And we actually discovered not only were there a bunch of micro influencers that were into the mid tier and but also some fairly significant potential partner influencers with
Yeah.
millions of followers that were existing customers of a brand. And the reason we were super excited about that was, in the regular sort of world of influencer marketing, you have like a double sale that you have to make. First, you have to convince them that your product or service is great, and then you have to convince them to, maybe talk about it. And so the fun part about finding existing customers who might make for good ambassadors or good influencers was the fact that clearly they were already paying regular price for the product, and so they loved it enough to pay for it. So I'd love to hear more about how you found existing customers becoming a really strong sort of brand ambassador channel for different brands.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, brands will often kind of fall into the trap. And I think this is like the biggest problem that happens when brands try to do something like this is they'll have some sort of like refer a friend loyalty program where it's like give a coupon to your friend and then get a coupon off your next order. And that's like the extent of the program. And like, the issue that I've seen with that is a lot of customers just aren't really engaged in it because the coupon isn't that great of an incentive for them to share. Maybe they're not planning the next purchase, or maybe they've already purchased a few times and they don't, or they already have a coupon in their account. They don't need an additional one. It's just not an incentive that usually gets customers super excited to be referring. And if you do get customers super excited to refer, it could be super meaningful acquisition if every customer is talking about your product, sharing it on social media, talking about it in their group chats with their friends, etc. That obviously is really powerful. So I think it really comes down to the incentive structure. What we've seen work the best is cash, because cash is something that everyone wants all the time. So regardless of if they're planning the next purchase, if they already have a coupon, if they've already bought 3 times before, if they've already bought, or if they've already referred 10 friends and have made, 10 payouts before, they'll still want the 11th. There's no scenario where someone doesn't want cash. So by creating a cash-based incentive structure for customers to drive referrals, we've seen that boost customer engagement in the program dramatically, as well as just, and it kind of sounds intuitive, but you'd be surprised how difficult some brands make this, just making the experience for a customer to enroll in the program as seamless as possible post-purchase. You don't want customers to have to go through the same, sign-up flow that maybe an influencer would have to go through, or like a more traditional affiliate. Like if they have to fill out this whole application form and wait for an approval and then create an account and then create a code, it's just too many steps for a customer that's used to your 2-click checkout flawless funnel from the time they discovered your brand to made a purchase. So something that we help brands do a lot of Social Snowball is just automating that post-purchase experience, getting customers enrolled into the program so that when customers are placing an order on your store, Social Snowball is able to automatically take their order data and use that to create them an affiliate link, create their affiliate account, give that to them automatically without any additional steps on the thank you page as well as in the post-purchase emails. And just that reduced friction alone boosts engagement dramatically. So the combination of just making it a really smooth and intuitive user experience for customers as well as the cash incentive structure instead of like the more give five, get five loyalty structure. Those two things combined have been really powerful in getting customers to actually generate enough customer acquisition for the brand where it's meaningful.
So, from a logistics perspective, obviously the customer is going to get paid in cash, and that opens up a little bit more of a regulatory focus because if they're going to end up being a material referrer business, at least in the United States, they might need to have a 1099 issued at the end of the year
Yep.
and that kind of thing. So, do you guys sort of automate that all that heavy lifting so to take that load off of the brand?
We do, yeah. So with our payouts, we integrate with these different reward APIs that essentially allow within Social Snowball payout transactions to happen from a connected funding source of the merchant directly to the affiliate with just like a couple clicks. When you do that, if someone hits, usually it's a $600 threshold, it'll automatically issue a W-9 form and collect it and store it for the brand.
Right, right. So, are there any industry categories that are sort of uh, non-obvious where this has worked? Because obviously, people think about influencers heavily in beauty and cosmetics and health and apparel. But I'd love to hear about categories where it was sort of not obvious that influencers could be an important channel, but they ended up being a really
Yeah.
important channel.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it always surprises me. There's always new ones. We've had, I mean, of course, the ones you said, beauty, health, and wellness, but we've had like a chemical supply company that did really well. We just onboarded a paint brand, literally sells paints. The most not strange, but just categories that you wouldn't think of as often. What I've realized is that they usually have, there's always influencers for any category. If someone is into fishing, they're following fishing influencers. You know, whatever you're into, there's the influencer for that niche. And so those influencers, since they're very, laser focused on a specific niche and not just like a general celebrity, kind of like what we talked about earlier, their audience usually is much more likely to buy a recommendation for them because they follow this person to recommend fishing products or just to recommend fishing advice in general, including products, to continue with that example. So yeah, I mean, and I'm just using fishing as an example, but we have had plenty of fishing brands that signed up and did really well with us as well. So it's blown my mind to see how many categories outside the obvious health, wellness, beauty, fashion, etc. that have done really well.
So obviously, the marketing team at a brand is going to, at some point, say, okay, beyond my existing customers, I want to actually go out and do influencer recruitment. Right? I want to reach
Hmm.
out to folks who are passionate about a category, who may be passionate
Hmm.
about my brand, and no, they're going to ask you like, okay, where do I start? Do I use a tool like a Spark Toro or some other tool to identify these and then do manual outreach? Do I just try to get really cozy with them on social media by following them heavily and building a relationship first? Like there's obviously a bunch of different ways you could go about that, starting from a blank whiteboard, right? Of nobody to reach out to. What do you advise the brands do in that sort of next step beyond their customers?
So there are a lot of influencer discovery tools and platforms. I mean, so Social Snowball, we have our own as well. And those and all of them, like they definitely give you a great starting point. I think like that's almost coming to the point where it's not too hard to build a list of influencers and like get their contact info. Like that's somewhat becoming a commodity. There's just a lot of platforms that do it. I think more difficult now and what brands need to focus on is what influencers are actually on that list and to know what to look for an influencer that's going to convert. So there's the obvious things like, we'll continue with the fishing example. You obviously want micro influencers, usually between 5K and 100K to maybe 200K followers that are in your niche, posting about your, type of content. That being said, um, the most important thing that I've noticed to look for when like identifying an influencer profile and determining that they're good is you want, and this almost sounds a bit counterintuitive, but you want influencers that are already frequently and actively posting about other brands and tagging other brands' products and posting affiliate links, tagging brands, all that stuff. And even though, one could argue, and this is kind of how I used to think about it before I really learned, deeper on this, you could argue that, oh, but that means that their audience is already saturated. They've already bought so many products for them. They probably aren't going to buy another one. It's actually the exact opposite. Brands or influencers that are posting brands frequently, their audience is like very accustomed and comfortable and happy to buy their recommendations. A lot of these consumers actually follow certain influencers for buying recommendations because they like this person's lifestyle. They like, whatever they like about them. Maybe, if it's a beauty influencer, they like their skin or whatever it is. But they're choosing to follow this creator because they want to hear product recommendations. And those creators know that, and they're affiliates for a lot of brands, and that's totally okay. As long as they're not an affiliate for a direct to direct competitor of your branded product, then they could absolutely be an affiliate for you. So that's what I've noticed is like the most important thing to look for. You want creators that are actively tagging brands and sharing products, or else their audience is not accustomed to buying from them and probably won't start. If you're the first product they post, the chances that converts are very slim.
Right, right. One thing that depending on I guess each administration and each group running the Federal Trade Commission maybe has a different level of enforcement attached to it, but there certainly have been waves of enforcement as it relates to failure of influencers to disclose that there's a paid relationship, right?
Hmm.
And that means that brands have to worry at least a little bit about compliance. So
Hmm.
how do you recommend brands sort of feel comfortable with the fact that like all the proper tagging of promoted posts is happening?
It's really up to the brand to kind of educate the creators that they're partnering with. And I don't remember the exact guidelines, but it's something like you have to put hashtag partner or hashtag ad or some sort of disclosure that like there's some sort of partnership, even if it's just an affiliate partnership. I think you still have to have some sort of hashtag in there. Um, So yeah, I mean the brands should definitely when they're onboarding new creators, something that's very common that also we help brands do at Social Snowball is sending like a welcome flow, like an email flow that's triggered automatically when a new creator is enrolled. In that welcome flow, you could have links to resources, including like guidelines and what needs to be included in each post.
Great, great. And then as far as non-price focused promotions, right? Obviously, a lot of folks are inundated by couponing and price related promotions, and we just passed Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So, and there probably will continue to be another wave of price promotions for a lot of categories between now and the end of the year. But often brands are like, listen, I want to try to find a way to hook these new customers but not using price as my lever. Like I sort of feel like I'm a premium brand. I don't want to just discount my way to new customers. I want to find a different way to convince them to try me. So, what are some things that have worked really well outside of price?
So I do think, it's even if it's not priced, there does have to be, I would recommend, there doesn't have to be, but I would recommend that there's always some sort of incentive for the customer as like there should be some sort of special offer for the customer for shopping with the influencer from the influencer. Um, the issue is if you have the influencer share like a normal, UTM tracking affiliate link with no incentive whatsoever, it's very, very hard to capture attribution accurately because there's no incentive for the customer to help us track the sale and what I mean by help us track the sale is if let's just say the influencer were to share like a discount code, and the customer were to see the influencer's post on Instagram but decide to buy later that night when they're on their computer after work, the customer has an incentive to take that discount code that they saw on Instagram and use it on their computer, which is really the only way that we can have attribution tracking for an influencer partnership jump from one device to another. As long as it doesn't have to just be a discount code. That's one example, but there has to be some sort of incentive. So if you're not discounting, you could have it be like maybe a giveaway entry or something like that, some sort of incentive that encourages the customer to help us track the sale because the UTM link alone isn't going to capture the level of attribution that we want. But if you have any sort of incentive tied to that the influencers offer like a discount giveaway, anything like that, then it helps a lot because we're able to track between devices.
Right. One of the things I saw seen some interesting research on, and I don't know whether this dovetails with the experience that you've seen, is that in certain instances, using a dollar off instead of a percent off might get a different response from a creative perspective or maybe it's buy two get one free, right? Which sounds very different than the percentage discount. And so
Mhm.
I'd love to hear sort of any tips and tricks that you would recommend for folks when they're sort of willing to do a discount, but they maybe want to package it up differently, or they're not sure whether to do, $25 off $100 order or more, or if they just want to do a 25% off, right? Which for an exact $100 order is the same, but of course it
Right.
differs when it's a $130 order, right? So, and
Hmm.
consumers don't always think through the math because they're not,
Right.
math is not necessarily their favorite topic.
Sure. Sure. Well, I mean, that would be a difficult question to answer. I think it's a little bit different for every brand, and I do think it comes down to testing at the end of the day. Like every brand should probably test all of those offers that you just mentioned and see what converts better across all traffic, not just influencer traffic. I would say though, like, on a very, very similar note, we have seen things where flat fee commissions will motivate influencers more than percentage commissions because it's just so easy for them to do the math. Like if I refer this many sales, I get this much money. It doesn't matter if the AOV, it doesn't matter if one purchase is big, one is small. Like just making the commission structure very easy for the influencer to digest definitely makes a difference. I would assume in many cases it's similar on the consumer incentive side as well, if, as far as like discounting. But I wouldn't feel comfortable as a blanket statement saying that. I do think it's a bit different for every brand. Like you got to test all these different offers and see what sticks with your audience.
Yeah, yeah. Have any of the brands you're working with tried to incentivize people jumping straight into subscription-based sales as opposed to just a single
Definitely.
order?
Yeah, definitely. Even a lot of brands are giving recurring commissions to
I
their
see.
creators for just to even put it not no not only in the offer, just so the creator is more incentivized to talk about the subscription or to push traffic to the subscription landing page, rather than a one-time purchase. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean that was actually part of the reason I bought Truth Nutrition was because I had a feeling that there would be scenarios where an influencer would be much more excited if they had an ongoing relationship with the brand as opposed to sort of a one or two time relationship. So have yet to run the A/B test on that, but that was why I brought up that question. So
Yeah.
what should we have talked about as it relates to sort of the intersection of creators and influencers and performance marketing that we didn't cover yet?
I think one thing that's already really big, that's only going to continue getting bigger, and that is very much at this exact intersection is social commerce. So obviously TikTok Shop is huge at this point. It's something that basically every brand is testing or is already launched on. Um, that it obviously changes things because yes, this is creator partnerships, but what's cool about it is it's only performance based. So it's very similar to how Social Snowball helps brands, and now we integrate with TikTok Shop too, which is really cool. But even before TikTok Shop was a thing, like we've, Social Snowball's theory, thesis has always been that brands are going to want to partner with creators in a performance model and have it be more of a performance channel. And now TikTok Shop is very much pushing the entire, market, the industry in that direction. TikTok Shop is an entire platform where you partner with creators and pay them an affiliate fee for driving, successful conversions. And the fact that the conversion happens on platform just helps, the conversion rate dramatically. Um, and so I think, that is something that we're going to see a lot more of. YouTube shopping is already live. It's not everywhere yet, but it's something that they're working on, as well. And some brands are already taking advantage of it. And it's similar where it's creator partnerships on an affiliate model. It's different as of today, and I have a feeling that maybe 6 months to a year, it's not going to be this way, but it's different in the way that the conversion actually happens on the brand's D2C. It does not happen within YouTube. YouTube doesn't have its own cart and checkout yet. Again, I think that's going to change. And then I'm sure Meta's working on something similar for Instagram and Facebook. So, I think it's going to be interesting. Like creator partnerships are definitely changing. It's becoming, like we talked about this entire episode, it's becoming more performance and affiliate based rather than just paying a flat fee in exchange for deliverables. That's a change that's undeniable at this point. And now we're even seeing a new change where it's a lot of the shopping for these creator partnerships is happening in platform of the social app. So that's also something I think that is most likely going to continue. It's not to say that no creator will ever drive traffic to D2C, but it's just a trend that feels like it's here to stay. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves over the next, 1 to 3 years.
Have you found that for most brands, the initial outreach to influencers that meet a specific threshold of criteria of sort of fit should be some kind of a gift, free trial or gift of the product itself? Or do you feel like it should jump past that straight into a sort of more performance-based relationship?
I think it's super important that the first contact you have with a creator is just with no strings attached whatsoever. I want to send you a gift. That's it. Not even like I want to sign you up for this or anything. I just want to send you a gift. These creators get so many emails from so many platforms and so many brands every single day. If you ask for anything more than just giving them something for free without even mentioning anything else in return, you're most likely not going to get a response, or at least your response rate won't be as high as it can be. So I usually recommend the brand start with just like a no strings attached gift email. When the creator says yes, and then with Social Snowball, you send them a link and then they fill out their info and they redeem the gift. You could, different platforms probably do it different ways, or you could create orders manually. However you're doing it. After they've gotten their gift, then you check in with them. How is it going? Then you kind of, explain more details about your affiliate program. more opportunities to partner further. But you only do that after they have your gift and they've used it. A lot of them will tag you organically, but if they don't, after you ask them, hey, hey, how are you liking it? They'll say, I love it. Then, you don't have to say, can you post for us? You could say, hey, we've already enrolled you in our affiliate program. Here's your link or here's your code or whatever. If you could tag us in your story, you could earn some commission for doing so. I think your audience would love it just as much as you did. Just, you could start asking for things more after they've received the gift. But before they receive it, you kind of just want it to be, let me just send you something because I think you're going to like it.
So what, as far as that, the management of this, this cat herding, if you want to call it that, like there's a lot of them, right? And you want to sort of keep track of them. You certainly want to keep track of both the ones who are already performing, but also the high opportunity ones that may be early in a relationship. Do you recommend that be sort of exclusively in-house folks at the brand? Do you think it's their agency also getting very involved, or to some extent, does your team also get involved in sort of managing the relationships with the folks as they come on board?
So, we're really just a software platform. Like, we don't do any like managed services. We do have like really great customer success and we help you onboard and launch and give you strategies for sure, but we're not like doing the day-to-day, work of managing one of these communities. As far as like in-house versus agency, I see so much of both every week. Like I don't think there's one right or wrong way to go. I think a lot of brands have amazing in-house influencer marketing managers and influencer teams that do a great job at building relationships, sourcing creators, retaining creators, building the programs, the incentive structures. And then I know there's a lot of brands that don't have those teams or don't have the bandwidth, for these kinds of things, or just, don't have the budget to bring on a team like that. And they do work with an agency or freelancer. And I've also seen those go incredibly well. Like we have a whole partnership program at Social Snowball with a huge network of influencer agencies and influencer freelancers that just do influencer and creator and affiliate management all the time for lots of brands. And we are constantly referring them leads, and they're doing killer jobs at keeping these programs, flourishing. So I honestly would say both are great options.
Great, great. Well, thanks so much for joining me for today's discussion. There's a lot of best practices that you discussed that I'm sure folks will put to use, and look forward to catching up with you in the future.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Kevin Lee's Power Marketing is available on all your favorite podcast networks. Kevin loves helping businesses excel at marketing. Having marketing challenges? Just like Santa in The Miracle on 34th Street, if Kevin can't help you, he'll know someone who can. Find him on LinkedIn, subscribe, or follow.